Good morning, thank you. If you may notice that my neck is slanted to one side, it's from that crash. I'm kidding, I'm fine. But it's great to be here, wonderful to be sharing the stage with such, amazingly talented and inspiring speakers. One of the things that, that's interesting about being a Jamaican bobsledder is this whole idea of a bobsled team from Jamaica, nice and warm. So you may be wondering, and I'm often asked whenever I meet people, who played you in the movie? Are you guys wondering that? Yes? I was a coach. The fat white guy? Yeah, honestly, since then I've gotten a tan, I've gone on a diet, and this is a new me. Seriously, if I had to choose one guy, the characters in the movie are really different from real-life characters, but if I had to choose one, I would say I was Yul Brynner, the bald-headed guy played by Malik Yoba. But that's not because I'm mean, as most people think. But if you might remember that Malik, Yul Brynner, wanted to live in Buckingham Palace. He was a dreamer, and that's why I'm a dreamer as well. The other question I'm often asked is, the way I started out, so how does someone from Jamaica, you grew up in Jamaica, become a bobsledder? Well, are you wondering that? Well, so back in the summer of 1987, and of course I'm using the term summer very loosely here because in Jamaica we have summer all year round. But at the time I was a lieutenant in the Jamaica Defense Force. I'm getting some funny looks. You didn't know that Jamaica had an army? Seriously, why do you think the United States have never even considered invading Jamaica? I mean, those coconuts make really good missiles, so be warned. But I digress. I was a lieutenant in the Army. I was on duty. It was a Friday, late afternoon, and the duty clerk walked in with a big stack of mail. I reached in, pulled out one piece, and it was something called the Force Orders. Essentially a newsletter that spoke to the happenings around the force. So as I'm reading through it, I get to the section on sports, and I read the notice there. I didn't quite understand it. So I read it again. It wasn't making sense. So I read it again. After about the fourth or fifth reading, I realized that Jamaica was about to start a bobsled team. And I thought that had to be the most absurd, ridiculous idea ever conceived by man. So how did this idea come about? Two Americans, George Fitch and William Maloney. They both lived in Jamaica, had business and family connections there. As the story goes, the two were in a local bar in Kingston imbibing some of the more potent salts we have on the island, and they became involved in one of those profound philosophical conversations that men engage in whenever they meet at a watering hole. Yeah, they were discussing women and sports. We're a bunch of philosophers, I tell you. On this occasion, they were discussing the popular belief in Jamaica that Jamaican women and athletes were the best in the world. Now, here was their dilemma. There was no way for them to test the former without getting in trouble with their wives, so they decided to put the latter to the test. And if you've seen Cool Runnings, you'll remember that Sanka Coffee raced this wooden cart down a winding mountain road. You guys remember that? We actually do that in Jamaica. I've never done it myself because that's utter madness. Believe me, it's crazy. But in a way, it does look like bobsledding, two crazy guys going down a winding mountain road, except for the ice. So George and Will saw that, go, wow, that looks like bobsledding. Then they discovered that a big part of a bobsled race is a start. You need sprinters. And we happen to have more than you do. Or at least they're faster. So they went to the guys on the summer team to try and get them interested in this bobsled idea, and the response was, Bob, who? Man, we live in Jamaica. The only Bob we know is Bob Marley, and he's dead. No, thank you. So they came to the Army. That's when I saw the notice. My colonel suggested that I tried out for the team, and I did. So that begs the next question, doesn't it? How does one select a bobsled team in Jamaica? Surprisingly, the same way all the other teams select their members. And it's very similar to the NFL combine. So you had to run 30, 60, 100, 300 meters, throw a shot put from between your legs, do 5 standing consecutive broad jumps, a standing high jump, power clean some weights, and push a makeshift sled. All of which is to test your speed and explosiveness, because that's what you need at the start. Very difficult test, especially for me, because Jamaica is filled with sprinters, and I'm not one of them. I'm a middle distance runner. I wasn't fast enough to win a 100-meter race, and I discovered the middle distances. So the only test that was comfortable for me was a 300-meter run, because that's what I did for my speed work. But I tried my darnest, and I remember after the team trials, I went back to the armor base and I crashed. I was so exhausted. I slept throughout the night. I woke up the next morning, and my friends are calling me the Olympian. Apparently, as I slept the night away, on the sports news, they announced that Jamaica had a bobsled team, and I was one of the members selected. So that was the only official notification I got. And then maybe 2 weeks later, somebody gave me an airline ticket and said, hey, you're going bobsledding. I turned up at the airport and saw 3 other guys who I recognized from the team trials. 2 were Army, 1 civilian. We made the trip to Lake Placid, New York for the long weekend. By the way, this is September 1987. The Olympics are February 1988. So we get to Lake Placid, New York, and we met our coach, and he says, gentlemen, this is a bobsled. And I tell you, it's a screwed piece of fiberglass bolted on a metal frame with screws jutting all over the place. It's not comfortable. And then we go and we see a bobsled track for the first time. And it's intimidating? Well, scary would be a more accurate word. So while there, we went to a local ice rink. The U.S. team was there practicing their starts. Now, mind you, this is the first time any of us is seeing more ice than you can fit in a tall glass of lemonade, right? So we go there to join the U.S. team in their practice session, and we decide that we're going to beat them. So we strolled on the ice, and do I have to tell you that we didn't beat them? We spent more time on our butt than we did pushing the sled. But we survived the weekend, went home, spent a couple of weeks, went to Calgary mid-October, went down a bobsled track for the first time, spent about 6 weeks, went to Innsbruck, Austria, did 1 World Cup race against some of the B teams in Europe, went home for Christmas, went back to Lake Placid in January, then went to the Olympic Games. That is, ladies and gentlemen, the sum total of our bobsled experience leading into the Calgary Olympic Games. So we get there, and we did the 2-man event. Don't remember what we finished, but what I do remember is the second week of the Olympic Games. It's a 4-man event, and we go, well, we're here. We should do the 4-man so we can all win a medal. So we enter the 4-man event. It gets more interesting. Chris Stokes, who wasn't even on the team at the start of the Olympics, he had come to watch his brother race. He was a sprinter on a scholarship here in the States. We go, Chris, you're a sprinter, right? Well, come on. So we recruited him, and in 3 days, we taught him everything we knew about bobsledding, about pushing a sled. At the end of the week, 7th fastest start time. Spectacular, right? And then we crashed spectacularly as well. So I've taken away many life lessons from this experience back in 1988, but time does not allow me to jump into them. So, of course, if you purchase a copy of my book, my latest book, Keep on Pushing, Hot Lessons from Cool Runnings, or when you invite me back to speak to your organization, we will talk more about some of those lessons. But let me say this. You must always follow your dreams. You must always follow your dreams. And it doesn't matter how impossible they might seem, pursue them. Each of us has the ability to become that which we aspire to be. If you can dream it, you can be it. And I don't mean to say that in a cavalier way. I don't mean to suggest that it's easy, because it is not. The very nature of our goals and dreams suggests that they're not easy. You see, we conjure up in our minds these images of what we want to be, what we want to do, what we want to have. And when we do, they're somewhere out there. They seem impossible. And then we somehow muster the courage to launch, to go after them, to push ourselves after them. And as we do that, they no longer seem so impossible. They seem incredibly difficult. But as we keep on pushing, we wake up one morning and it's done. It's mission accomplished. Fait accompli. Do you know what that does for your confidence? Do you know what that does for your faith in your ability to achieve? Do you know how much that inspires others, people who have seen you accomplish this amazing thing, how much it inspires them to go pursue their own dreams? It's amazing, simply amazing. So this morning I want to challenge you. I want to encourage you. I want to exhort you. Don't be intimidated by the obstacles you see in the distance. Launch. Pursue your goals. Keep on pushing. Keep pushing these obstacles out of your way, or find a way to push yourself over them, around them, through them. This is what I know. There's always a way to win. There just is always a way to win. And your job is to find it. Don't allow the experts, you know those people in your lives who seem to think they know what it is you can or cannot do, and see it as their job to tell you? Don't allow them to tell you what it is you can and cannot do. It will happen, and when it does, my advice to you is to wave at them with one finger and get on with your life. But you get to choose the finger you wave, okay? Or at least take solace in the words of Rudyard Kipling, who was far more polished than I was, when he says, small-minded people will always try to belittle your dreams, but the truly great ones will make you feel like you too can be great. And this morning I'm here to tell you, yes, absolutely, you too can be great. And finally, when you fail, and believe me, you will, when you fail, when you crash, let me give you a bobsledding tip here. One of the basic aims of bobsledding is to cross the finish line, right side up, all four runners on the ice. When you do it the way we did, all four runners kissing the skies, that's a failure. Not only were we failing, we were failing in front of the entire world. So what do? Do you pack up your little bobsled and head back to the warm beaches of Jamaica and call yourself a failure? Understand that when you fail, you are not the failure. It's an event. Failure is an error in judgment, and that was a result. So your job is to figure out what you did wrong, create a new plan, and launch. Put that plan into action and keep on pushing. So how do you do that? Well, unfortunately, I'm out of time, but I'll be happy to come back and share more with you. You've been such a gracious audience. Thank you very much. Thank you.